and we're also recording this to put up on the YouTube website. So keep it clean. All right. This meeting of Brooklyn Community Board 14 is called to order on Monday, April 19th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time under the applicable statutes of New York State, the Charter of New York City, the board's bylaws, and Robert's Rules of Order. The board's policy is to encourage detailed public discussion of matters before the board at our committee meetings and at public hearings. Consequently, except by board members, there will be no public discussion at our regular monthly meeting of matters about which a public hearing or a committee meeting was held. Specific service delivery requests or complaints should be brought to the attention of the district office staff by calling the board office during regular business hours or by visiting our website anytime. Other matters of civil interest may be brought before the board during our scheduled public comment period, which will begin tonight after all other business on the board's monthly meeting agenda has been concluded. No partisan political appeals or advertising for-profit enterprises will be heard. Persons wishing to speak during the public comment period were asked to pre-register. So if I can ask the board secretary to take roll call and attendance, please.
Hindi, we can't hear you.
1 second, I left the attendance forms in a different room. I have to go get them. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
No problem.
Hi, Alvin. Hi, Sean. Hi, Anya.
Oh, no, that's not.
Hi, Joe.
Okay,
Hi.
guys. Okay. I'm going to start taking attendance. Wakil Ahmed. Gregory Alvarez.
Present.
Carmen Sarabel.
Here.
Hindi Benzel present. Alan Burke. Present. Joanne Brown. Michelle Brunson. Michelle Brunson. Okay. Edward Sen.
Present.
Carl Henry Caesar.
Here.
Agata Florence Agata Shane.
Present. It's Changajita.
Sorry. Liang Chow. Stephen D. Cohen.
Here.
Brian Cunningham. Joseph Dweck.
I saw Joe.
Is he here?
I saw him.
I see him as a participant.
He's muted. He's muted. Sorry, Joe.
Present, okay. Yehuda Epstein. Ray Edwards. Leonie Francis Bryan. Anne Gadat. Mordecai Hazarski. Hashif Hussain. Manzur Hussain. Dwayne Joseph.
Here.
Roger the Judge.
Here.
Shahid Khan. No. Zachariah Khan. Okay. Nicole Stevenson Angela,
Here.
Naomi Lipnick, Donald Loggins, Dominic Mel, Raymond Mendez, Ephraim Nuremberg,
Present.
Boris Noble, Zvi Platzer, Edward Powell, Barden Prasad, Mohammed Razvi, Billy Richland, Maria Reven Hazelworth. I thought I saw the name before.
Present.
Okay. Aza Ruhi, Nina Sabier,
Nina is here.
Nina is here, okay. Gary Schultz, Michael Sedillo,
Cedillo here.
okay. Joel Siegel,
Here.
Gail L. Smith,
Present.
Howard Sokol, Saul Stein, Abraham Schmidt, Deborah Valentin. Wait. Who just said present? Abraham Trapp. Okay, Deborah Valentin. Yes. No. Okay, Dawn Marie Walker. And Glenn M. Wallen.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Alvin Burke. My name close.
I only have 21.
Did you, Alvin?
We got Alvin.
Okay.
And we also have Ray Mendez and Ann Godette, who joined while roll call was in process. We have a quorum, Madam
Okay,
Chairperson.
thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Hindi. Moving on to the minutes. The minutes were distributed to the members of the board previously before this meeting. Any additions or changes to the minutes of the meeting, of the general meeting that took place last month in March?
The community board did receive the correction of Steve Cohen's middle initial, and we'll update that, as well as we will correct the council district that Kelman Yeager represents, so it's the correct one, so as to not give him more work than he already has.
Excellent.
Middle initial was also corrected, just for the record.
Okay. Any additional corrections from board members? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Moving on to the district manager's report. Sean Campbell.
Good evening, everybody. I'm gonna be pretty brief tonight. I want to start though with some good news, since it's such a lovely day and tomorrow's going to be even nicer. The tot lot has been completed. It's already in high use, and the ribbon cutting will be on the 28th at 3 o'clock. And it will be formally dedicated to Lieutenant Narvaez once again. We also have 6-day-a-week basket collection for our commercial corridors for street litter baskets. This was something that had been cut even more than in half over the past year. And we got a lot of dirty street complaints because, yeah, the baskets were overflowing. So we hope that we get some improved conditions. Certainly keep an eye out and let us know where we can make sure that our streets are getting the attention that they deserve. Speaking of streets, there are a couple of new street activity permits that the DOT Open Streets program has been sort of expanded or reimagined or redefined. But we can put the link to those applications up on our website, and that is in addition to the current street activity permits, some of which are being allowed in our current still sort of half back to normal, half not environment. So if you are having a street activity, there's a couple rules still that apply to all of them, which is there are only single block events are being considered at this time. Those events have to be under 200 people. And there has to be a social distance responsibility plan submitted to to CECM, to the SAPO office. They're a little bit different than the Open Streets. Those programs are Open Streets programs are DOT run. So it's very confusing. I almost confused myself trying to just report about it tonight. So please reach out to us if we can be helpful, but please also know that the street activity permits are for all outdoor activities that are going to disrupt the flow of traffic, disrupt the flow even of pedestrian traffic. So even if it's a sidewalk blockage with lines, and this also pertains to food pantries, where I have to express a concern because this community was amazing during COVID lockdown when it came to providing food to our fellow community members. When the city first did it, it didn't count kosher and halal meals. And in this community, that was an egregious error, but the community rose up to fill in that gap and has been good about it ever since. But right now we've got so many food pantries that the communities that have been the greater neighborhoods that have been pretty good about hosting the sort of unintended consequences of the food pantries, we're starting to get the complaints and we're starting to get the pushback, and we are we are trying to handle those as one-on-one, one-off complaints, but it really is starting to, we're starting to feel a little bit of a burden. So on Coney Island Avenue, we've got about 4, maybe 5 food pantries going on within a 2-block stretch. So where you can work with another organization, I'm urging you to do so. We also have some food pantries that have been brought to this office's attention that are not permitted. You are taking additional risks when you don't permit your street activities. You're taking on additional indemnity risks. You're taking on additional risks that you're going to start a street permit and there's a work going on underground. And these rules exist I don't make them up, and they are confusing, so we will help you, but they are there for a reason. So please do file for all permits, shredding events, anything amplified. And the city and the state are working together to try to give us back our multi-block street events so we can have even more fun. But the services that we're providing to one another and the gatherings that we are trying to enjoy with one another have to be permitted. So please do that. Let us know if we can help. That's I try not to lecture. I had to do it today though. Let us know if we can help. Thanks.
Thank you, District Manager Campbell. I'm told that Councilmember Kalman Yeager is on the call. If he would like to say a few words to the board.
Just here to listen. How are you, Madam Chair? It's good to see you up there. By up there, I mean on the dais, but you don't have one.
And thank you for the letter you sent. It was very nice.
Good to have you.
All righty. Now I'm going to move on to the chair's report. I'd like to start by wishing those who are observing Ramadan Mubarak. May this Ramadan bring joy, health, and wealth to you and your families. There were no, can I just ask everyone to make sure that they're muting themselves because they have an echo? Thanks. There were no public hearings held during the last general meeting, but I do have another short report. On Tuesday, April 6th, Gail L. Smith and I attended the Borough Board meeting held virtually via WebEx. There were several presentations of interest. First was a presentation by the New York City Department of City Planning with representatives from the NTA on zoning text change called Zoning for Accessibility. Zoning for Accessibility will allow developers who are within 50 feet of an appropriate New York City subway, LIRR, or Metro North station to receive easements and bonuses if they agree to set aside a portion of their development to add an elevator or other mechanism to increase accessibility for those who have mobility or other limitations. At the CB14 Transportation and Community Environment meeting, a similar presentation was provided. You can watch the proceedings of that topical committee on our YouTube channel, and you'll also hear a report about that tonight. Next was a presentation from Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory about their City Tech Annex opening in downtown Brooklyn and their 2021 summer camps. If you don't know, Cold Spring Harbor is a robust scientific research facility that will be opening the Brooklyn Annex this spring. Campers who attend will learn all about DNA, mRNA, and other building blocks of the genome. Scholarships are available, and we hope to see them at our 14th annual youth conference at the end of May. And then lastly, the last presentation was from the New York City Campaign Finance Board, and they talked about ranked choice voting in Brooklyn. So starting in 2021, New York City will be using ranked choice voting in primary and special elections for local offices. You can rank up to 5 candidates in order of preference. Instead of choosing one, you can also just choose one. The next ranked choice voting election is the citywide primary held on June 22nd, and you'll find upcoming election dates and deadlines at voting.nyc. And that concludes the chair's report. So we're going to move on to topical committees. Let me find.
Madam Chairperson, before you do that, may I barge in just to note the presence of a couple of people who are not on the participants list to make their own announcements. I do want to note that Pinkas Heikend from the Comptroller's office is on the YouTube channel and sends regards from him, the Comptroller. And I also want to thank Nancy Lulu, who from the DA's office, who has to hop off to another meeting, but we really appreciate the support that she provides to us all month long.
Thank you, Sean. So moving on to topical committees, the first report that the board will hear is from Community and Environment. Do we have a co-chair on the line? I know that perhaps Nina was having trouble unmuting herself. It was a joint meeting with the Transportation Committee. We can also invite one of the co-chairs from the Transportation Committee to report on that meeting.
I believe Joel's trying to speak, but you're muted, Joel. You could just unmute yourself. See if I can help you out.
Hi, sorry, I was moving papers around. I didn't want to make noise. Yes, on Tuesday, the 13th last week, we had a joint meeting of the Transportation Committee with the Community Environment Committee. And as he said, the second presentation we had was from the MTA and from City Planning regarding proposed zoning changes to encourage adjacent landowners to subway stations to allow for elevators and accessibility for people who need accommodations. And so we had that presentation. And then before that, we had a presentation also from City Planning regarding a vacant parcel at the corner of Bedford and Church, right next to Erasmus High. It was formerly a elementary school, and it's now a vacant parcel. And there's going to be a RFP for a what is hoped to be 100-unit affordable housing project. That parcel is also believed to be an African burial ground. I guess there's been evidence of that unearthed. And so the proposal has to respect that in the proposal. They're going to be looking for a mission-driven organization, and talking about construction in 4 years and finishing it in 5 to 6 years. So it's going to be a long process. So that's it.
Thank you
And
very
Joel,
much.
just to complement that, I did put the website for the Flatbush African Burial Ground Remembrance Task Force in the chat. And we will be hearing from Josh Sal from HPD in the public comment period a little bit later about more public inclusion in this process. So looking forward to that in just a little while. Thank you for letting me barge in again. Sorry.
No, thank you, Sean.
Anytime. I just wanted to recognize that Police Officer Joseph from the 70th Precinct Community Affairs is here. Thanks for coming tonight. Moving on to the next topical committee, that would be education, libraries, and cultural affairs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just before we start, I saw Dwayne Joseph had his hand up, so I don't know if that was something pertaining to the last committee report. He might have just taken it down though. So
I did just have a quick question around clarification, if I may, on the zoning point. Is that, are they getting, are developers getting, forgive me, my brain is completely shut down now, but are developers getting credit? And again, my brain is shut down, I don't know why, but.
Dwayne, it's okay. You don't even have to spark your brain. We're not there yet. The RFPs are being issued, but we're not there with in terms of incentive or design or whether there's going to be zoning changes or anything like that. Right now, they're just in the request for expressions of interest phase. And if I didn't answer your question that you were forming, then hold off until Josh makes the announcement
That's
during
fine.
public comment, and he'll be more expert at it.
My brain will probably start working again by then.
Glenn, did you have a question? Your hand is up.
Can't hear you.
Glenn, did you have a question? Your hand is up.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add that this project that they're proposing, a church in Bedford, also they claim is going to have some community resource space for teenagers and like that. Just that's it. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Just from looking at the chat, I just want to reassure everyone that we're also looking at the participants list in terms of roll call. So if you were not able to call yourself out to the secretary, we do have the participants list, so you will be marked present. Thanks so much. So the next topical committee report, education, libraries, and cultural affairs, please.
Hey, thank you very much, Joanne, and good evening, fellow board members and everyone else as well. Happy Monday. And so, quick thing, we had a very busy meeting on April 8th, and so I will be summarizing the portion of the meeting that I led, and then I'd be turning it over to my co-chair, Steve Cohen, who will give his recap for his piece. So essentially, the three pieces that I was responsible for, there was an update on the Midwood Library renovation project. There's an update from the Brooklyn Public Library in terms of resources and events. And then there was an update on DOE public schools from Superintendent Beauvais. And so for the first item regarding the Midwood Library renovation project, we had a partner from the architecture firm. And then we also had Jomo Blackman, who's community outreach at the Department of Design and Construction. And very high level, that project, it went before the Brooklyn Public Library. It's been approved. They are in what is called construction documents, and basically very high level, the timeline is that they are aiming to issue the building permit this summer. They are hoping that it goes out to bid in the fall of 2021, which means they are currently aiming for a construction start of summer 2022, and they're hoping for substantial completion sometime in 2023 around the winter. And so very high level, that is the timeline that they're going for. It's very much fluid, and so things are subject to change. The other thing of note too is that in our committee meeting on the 8th, there was a motion, and the motion was approved to have something come before the board regarding having the board put out a letter in support of the project. And so those are some main items of note that came out of that meeting as it concerns the Midwood Library renovation project. For the next item on the agenda regarding the Brooklyn Public Library, so essentially we had Nyla Rosario and we had another woman from there as well give us an update on various programs. And so very high level, the library had seen over 1 million people attend various virtual programs that the library has been putting together since the pandemic started. And these range from, you know, virtual programming that covers a spectrum of things. They also said that there are services they're still maintaining, such as Library on Call, which is providing stories to folks over the phone, books by mail. And Ms. Rosario also mentioned a project in partnership with Brooklyn Reach, which has the goal of expanding the Wi-Fi signal to a certain distance outside of the library. And so that's been installed in 20 locations. If they're able to secure funding, they have a goal of installing that in 33 other locations as well too. There was also an update regarding an initiative to have a Black American library card. And so this had come out of Community Board 3 back in January. They had an open call to artists, and artists had been selected, a design had been greenlit, and they are looking for a soft launch sometime around Juneteenth. And in addition to the soft launch of that card, they're looking into seeing if there's some sort of programming that they can create around that time as well too. And the other thing as well too that popped up in that conversation was there was a question about can communication be improved? And that came through the lens of the Cortelyou Library closing. And so there were several members of the community who had said, hey, they felt that they found out rather later that the library was closing. And so what Ms. Rosario informed us of was that according to her records, they had notified people starting on February 23rd, and that March 19th was the last day of service, and that construction is going to begin, or it began on April 12th, and it's supposed to be for 4 months. And so basically, Ms. Rosario said that they usually try to have a 2 to 3 week window in terms of communicating that information, but that she and her colleagues are always willing to work with the community and whatever to see if there are better ways to disseminate that information. And so very high level, those were the things that were covered within the Brooklyn Public Library section of the ELCA meeting. And then the last piece in terms of an update from Superintendent Beauvais, basically what she said was that with the new Chancellor Porter, who came in, who replaced the outgoing Chancellor Carranza, basically at that moment, some of the key priorities of the incoming Chancellor were expanding, basically parent advocacy and their voice, right? Like basically helping parents understand what are the ways for them to advocate for their child. The other thing too was figuring out a way to deal with the trauma and the social development needs of the students, because this has been a trying school year. The other thing as well too that Superintendent Beauvais said is a point of interest and a priority for the Chancellor is figuring out what is a way to assess what students have lost, if anything, and depending on the answer, what other kinds of tools and supports that can be created and leveraged to address that. And so that was the first main piece that Superintendent Beauvais mentioned. The second main piece too is that she said, at least for District 22, as safely as possible, they are trying to bring things back to lessons back to 5 days a week. And so that led to the question of enrollment, right? Because there were some members in the meeting who had referenced some Brooklyn, paper or Brooklyner articles from a few months ago talking about enrollment. And so Superintendent Beauvais did confirm that, yes, at some point in time, enrollment did take a hit in District 22. Families did leave. And she said from what she's seen so far, it looks like some of those families have started to come back as the city started going back to 5 days a week where possible. And so she said she can't predict the future like anyone else, but she's hoping that if for the 2021 to 2022 school year, we can approach some sort of normalcy, whatever that means in terms of reopening, she's hoping that that would lead to a continued increase in terms of the enrollment. She also mentioned that 3K was going to be expanded. And the key distinction here is that it was going to be expanded and in the sense that if there are places that can support having that influx of children there, then yes, right? These are places that could definitely say that we'd like to have this in our establishment as well. And then there were 2 other questions about what she saw being done for homeless youth who were impacted by COVID. And so Superintendent Bove spoke to that a little bit. And then the last piece was a question about gifted and talented. And then she did mention that, you know, for the time being, the policy would stay as is. And as of that call on as of that call on April 8th, she did mention that families with kids born in 2016, that there were 3 ways for them to show their interest. But as of that day, it turned out the deadline was April 9th. So that was the update regarding those 3 items within the ELCA meeting. So at this point, I will turn it over to Steve Cohen.
Thanks, Carl. So Carl handled the bulk of the meeting, so I just have I have scraps to report out after that thorough report. But Shelley Worrell from Caribbean importantly came before our committee and told us about the Little Caribbean and the cultural offerings within Little Caribbean. For those who don't know, Little Caribbean is a community-driven initiative designed to promote the food, culture, and heritage of Caribbean and Caribbean American communities in Flatbush and East Flatbush. And the corridors of Little Caribbean are Flatbush Avenue from Empire Boulevard to the Junction, Nostrand from Empire to Church, and Church from Ocean Avenue to New York Avenue. So board members and community members should feel welcome to explore Little Caribbean and experience its cultural offerings. The last point, just wanted to raise, we know cultural affairs are still limited due to social distancing, and we've heard from, in that regard, we've heard from not-for-profit organizations that promote local outdoor porch concerts. For those who are interested in learning more about those, I'd recommend visiting on Facebook the Ditmas Park and Ditmas Park Families Facebook pages, because those regularly mention those outdoor concerts and the not-for-profits that put them together. And I know, you know, we've been missing out on cultural affairs due to COVID, and hopefully that's starting to change. So we're happy to see that our neighbors are finding creative ways to offer outdoor socially distanced events featuring local musicians. And while our committee isn't planning on holding any more committee meetings until the fall, to the extent our committee learns about more local cultural events that we think are of note, that we want the board members in the community to know about, we'll do our best to try to update the full board during our monthly reports. And that's all we have, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for that report. I'm not seeing any hands with questions for these for this committee report. So I'm going to move on to the next topical committee, which is Human Services, and it means I continue to talk to you. So on Tuesday, March 23rd, the Human Services Committee held an annual nonprofit roundtable remotely via WebEx. 30 organizations were in attendance. Thank you to all of our community-based organizations that attended a roundtable this year remotely. We were joined by 3 presenters, Tejamade Ajayova, Acting Executive Director of Community Affairs, New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Sharice Lawrence, who is Brooklyn Government Affairs Officer for New York City Department of the Aging, and Barbara Williams, who's the Assistant Borough Director for Brooklyn, New York City Health and Hospitals Test and Trace. Programming of the roundtable included presentations about COVID-19 vaccine distribution, health and hospitals test and trace core, and senior services and resources as they relate to the vaccination efforts. Our theme aimed to provide our community-based organizations with the latest information and tools they may need to assist their program participants in navigating the current COVID-19 landscape. The event was useful and successful. The annual gathering continues to be an excellent opportunity to network and be a place of innovation to address important district issues. Once again, I want to thank District Manager Sean Campbell as the Roundtable's founder. Also, thank you to Anya Hoyer, Brian Williams, and Mark Moss for all of their help in making the event happen. That is the end of the Human Services report. Next topical committee report is from Public Safety.
I spoke to Svi Plotzker earlier today, and he was having technical difficulties, well, Verizon issues. So I did assure him that I would at least note that the committee met and we had a presentation from the Center for Court Innovation on diversion and other nonviolent offender programs. And we also had an update about the 70th Police Precinct House. And of course, this board has been very involved in advocating for a new precinct house for about 30 years. And the current status is that there was a scoping study done by NYPD Capital, and they determined that the current location of the precinct house, while a big enough lot to build an adequate new precinct house, was not in a location that facilitates response and just isn't adequately, isn't enough space, or it isn't situated well in the district. So NYPD Capital made a request to Office of Management and Budget that they approve a new site search for a new location for a new precinct house. And that request is pending at OMB, where it's been pending for a long time. And so the board members present were vocal about wanting to organize a more determined request to our local council members in order to get political support for OMB to approve the site search. There were also a couple of sites that were specific sites that were noted as potentially good sites for a precinct house, but until a site search is open, that it doesn't matter. They have to have the site search open in order to identify sites. So the committee will be working with elected officials to try to get some oomph behind their request and continue to move this process forward. And I think that's it. If anybody from that, Joe Dweck, I know, is here. If there was anybody who attended that meeting who feels like I've egregiously left something out, feel free to add it in and or watch the meeting on the YouTube channel that is always on our website. Thanks.
Joe, I see that you have a hand up. Did you want to add something to that?
Hi, thanks, guys. Yes, that I did speak to Tzvi. Also, and we're going to coordinate that meeting that Sean just mentioned about the electeds, because we realize that no matter how many resolutions we pass, we really have to get some weight behind us. And the way we were able to have some sort of forward motion in the past is with the electeds. So we have to get them all in rooms. Tzvi also, in fact, had did follow-up for that particular lot on Nostrand Avenue and Avenue I that is available, and he says it looks perfect and it's bigger, much bigger than we had thought. So he had done some further research on it. Thank you. Please mute me, Anya.
Thank you, Joe. Next topical committee report is from Youth Services.
Hi, Madam Chair, Jonathan Judge here. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Glad to see all of you here, and kudos and sympathies to my fellow allergy sufferers who have been wrestling with the lovely, pretty things that are springing up that are killing us as inside and outside. So I just want to give you a quick report. It's got a few things in it. We met last as a Youth Services Committee meeting on March 24th at 6:30 p.m. via WebEx. We got to meet, very exciting, we got to meet some of the applicants for our newly launched Youth Leadership Council, and they were able to join us from different perspectives and backgrounds to discuss how we can make our youth conference better, especially because our youth conference is going to be virtual this year, which is the first time we're doing it, and obviously only because of the pandemic are we doing it virtually. So we had a wonderful time meeting them, learning about their backgrounds, what interested them in joining the Youth Leadership Council. And we look forward to meeting the other applicants that come along the way. And we'll have more details about how things are going to progress with the Youth Leadership Council, probably in the near future, just once, some of these applications are rolling in. In terms of our youth conference, so as you all probably know and are tired, but also always excited to hear, our 14th annual youth conference is going to be this coming Wednesday, May 19th, not this week, but I should say Wednesday, May 19th It is going to be virtual again. We're going to be using a combination of, I believe it'll be Zoom based. We got a lot of feedback from our Youth Leadership Council applicants, and they are all very familiar with Zoom. So we assume most school-age young people will be very familiar with the interface for Zoom. We have some details that we're still working out, but the application process for participants is going to be announced shortly, and the ability for participants to register to attend the virtual event, that'll come out shortly. But at least save the date. It's going to be Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. We're looking forward to having all of you there. So, and again, every year, this is where we bring together businesses that have job opportunities for teens. This is for the ages of 14 to 21. This is internship opportunities, volunteer opportunities across the board. We usually get at least close to almost 100 of those providers that come, and typically we get several hundred local teens from the community to participate. We don't know how it'll go this year, but we think if we all work together like we have in the past, it'll be a wonderful event, even if it is a virtual event. And so we're looking forward to working with all of you on that as we go forward. So again, more details about that will be coming up. You can always go to CB14 Youth Conference.nyc for the latest information. And I believe there'll be corresponding information on the CB14 website at cb14brooklyn.com/youth. At least one other important announcement related to that is the Department of Youth and Community Development announced the Summer Youth Employment Program. They announced it right in between our last meeting and this meeting. The application window has already been open, and it's going to conclude for those who are looking for summer job opportunities between the ages of 14 and 21. The application window is closing this Friday, April 23rd. So this is an urgent call for any of you who know of any teens that are looking for the opportunity. They should apply this week. Go to application.nycsyep.com. I'm sure someone will do me the solid of putting that in the chat in case you're looking for it. But fill out the application now. They are going to be doing, they're anticipating being able to do opportunities in person at work sites, or somehow working with the work sites. It won't just be sort of a coaching program again. There still might be, for the 14 to 15-year-olds, sort of like career skills training kind of experience, but they are looking to do in-person work sites again to some extent, whether it's in person or it's, again, a virtual arrangement, but it should be a work style arrangement. Again, I'm sure that might be tentative to some extent if anything else changes, but if you, again, know anyone 14 to 21 who would like to take advantage of the opportunity, it is a lottery system, but at least if you get the application in, you have a chance of getting a paid summer job this summer. And so go to application.nycsyep.com and fill it out by Friday. And last but not least, we have another meeting coming up. So if you didn't get to join in last time, you'll be able to join in this Thursday, April 22nd, 6:30 p.m. via WebEx, where we're going to finalize details and programming for our youth conference coming up again on Wednesday, May 19th. So be sure to join us then. You can find the meeting information through the cb14brooklyn.com website, or always contact the office. So I think that covers it for my end. Dwayne, I don't know if our co-chair, Dwayne Joseph, has anything he'd like to add.
No, I think you covered it all. Again, the only thing I would say is, as we move this forward, we will need the assistance of all our board members and any community members on the call to help spread the word about the youth conference, and also to recruit potential business participants to be able to offer internships and opportunities for our young people. So please, if you're moved to help, which I hope many of you are, you'll contact the board. There, I think we are preparing, if I'm not mistaken, a kind of form letter that you'll be able to copy and paste into an email and send out to friends, coworkers, family members, organizations that you think may be interested in participating.
Thank you both for that. Florencia Changageta, you had a question.
time will the conference be, Jonathan? Hello?
So, yes, hi, sorry. So we are looking at the same window of 4 to 7. That's what we discussed. We found out that, again, thanks to our Youth Leadership Council applicants who joined us that night, they informed us that for most people, school is usually out by 3 p.m. and having that little bit of a buffer between the youth conference starting at 4 and when most of their classes will be done by 3 o'clock would be very helpful and conducive to their being of a refreshed mindset to attend the conference. So we're probably sticking to that 4 to 7 window.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. Seeing no other questions or hands, we will close this portion of the meeting, topical committees. Next part of our agenda is the ad hoc committee. We have one, the bylaws committee. If I can have the co-chair or co-chairs provide a report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Bylaws Committee met on April 6th, and during that meeting, we concluded our revisions to Article 3 of the bylaws, which concern membership. We also, towards the end of that meeting, began discussing Article 4 concerning elections and Article 5 concerning officers. On Tuesday, April 27th, we'll have our next meeting, and we'll resume our discussions as to Articles 4 and 5, and hopefully conclude our review of those sections, or at least come close, before we turn to the longest section of the bylaws, which is Article 6 regarding committees. Our plan is to circulate a document with edits and comments to sections 4 and 5 to committee members, hopefully tomorrow or certainly in the coming days. And we wanted to remind the bylaws committee members that if you have edits or comments for Articles 4 and 5, please try to circulate them sometime prior to our next meeting so that we can hit the ground running on April 27th. And that's all I got.
Thank you very much for that report. This concludes the reports from the ad hoc committees. This brings us to our public comment period. Board members are expected to remain for the public comment period. Because we were meeting remotely, all speakers were asked to pre-register via email to the board office. Any member of the public who is not able to register in time can follow up directly with the board and staff, who will include appropriate announcements on the CB14 website. Matters of civil interest, the announcements of public events are invited. No partisan political appeals or advertising for-profit enterprises are permitted. Service delivery requests should be brought to the attention of the staff by email or during regular business hours. Each speaker will be permitted to speak up to 3 minutes and may not receive additional time from another speaker. The board has an obligation to conduct its business in an orderly manner. Any person preventing the meeting from continuing will be muted and possibly disconnected from the meeting. The intent of the public comment period is to permit the board and the community a chance to hear diverse perspectives on public issues. Accordingly, we ask that groups be represented by a single speaker. It is now 7:23. Anya Hoya will be announcing our previously registered speakers at this time. Thank you, Anya.
You're welcome. Okay, we have 9 pre-registered speakers this evening. I will list them in order of who registered first. We'll begin with Josh Saul from HPD, followed by Eileen Mulaney Newman from Borough Hall, followed by Joe Micel from Rank Choice, New York. So Josh Saul, you're up first.
Thank you, Anya, and thank you, Chair Brown and District Manager Sean Campbell. As many of you from the Transportation and Community Environment Committee heard last week, we are at HPD. First, my name is Josh Saul, and I work for Housing Preservation and Development. And as many of you heard last week, we are releasing an RFP, a request for proposals, on the vacant site that's city-owned on Bedford and Church Avenue. And as part of the process, we have been working with a task force, which Sean is part of, but we are also hosting public workshops as we'd like to get as much input from the community at large. And those public workshops I wanted to announce are going to be on May 5th at 6 p.m. and on May 22nd at 10 a.m. and the second day is a Saturday. So it's 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we're really excited to hear really the feedback from the community. This is a site, as you heard in the topical committee report, that it is not only fake, but has a history, as a portion of it was believed to be an African burial ground. So there's both about honoring past, seeing how we can develop affordable housing on this site, as well as youth-focused community programming, and how we can do that both as a community working with the city to really create a better future for both Flatbush and the city at large. So that's a spiel. I'll give Sean the link for RSVPing if you can make the online workshops. And if you can't, there are also questionnaires. I do want to note the workshops will be both be conducted in English, but there will also be simultaneous translation in Spanish as well as Haitian Creole. And the questionnaire that is now up for those who can't attend the workshop is in English, but we will be posting translated versions shortly. So I can actually just insert the link to those on the chat in a moment. Thank you very much.
Josh, we'll also add them to the website under the task force information that we have on our website.
Thank you.
Next up is Eileen Mullaney-Newman from the Borough President's Office, but I don't see Eileen on the line, so let me just give her a moment and then we'll jump to the next speaker. Joe Mizell from Ranked Choice Voting. Are you on the line? Yeah, I just see Eileen popped up there. We can go back to you, Eileen, if you'd like to speak.
Whatever. I don't have any announcements, but I do want to say that the tot lot is looking really good, and it's so great to see so many children from the neighborhood in there. So thank you.
Great. Next, Joe Mizell from Ranked Choice Voting NYC. Oh, I see someone speaking. Julia, I believe you're muted if you're trying to speak for Ranked Choice Voting. Sorry about that. I think the speaker may have changed, Chairwoman, for this.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. My audio is coming from my phone, but my microphone is coming from, okay, that's fine. Sorry, hi, I'm Julia. I'm here from Ranked Choice New York. We're a nonpartisan nonprofit working to bring ranked choice voting to all New Yorkers for every election. And as the chair already mentioned, ranked choice voting is coming to New York City for the primaries in June. And so Ranked Choice New York is here to help everyone in New York get ready for the primary. We've heard that a lot of folks are nervous, aren't quite sure what ranked choice voting is. But the word you want to spread to your community is don't worry, it's real simple. In fact, Queens already used it for a special election back in February, and exit polls showed that even though only 40% were familiar with ranked choice voting going in, over 95% of folks said it was real simple when they were coming out. So even folks that aren't quite clued in yet, it's a really intuitive process. Let's get the word on the street that it's simple and it's easy to do. But we're also, like I said, we're here to help. We have 5-minute and 15-minute presentations that we are here to offer to members of the community. So we have on our website, you can request a speaker, and you can just note in the, what you're interested in learning about, just note that you're interested in New York City education. So we'll come in, we've got a beautiful slideshow, and we can break it down real easily, and we'll stick around for a question and answer session. We have experts on our team, all the way from folks who helped draft the legislation in New York City on up to Howie Hawkins, who has run for governor for New York State, all down to little old me. So sign up, ask for speakers to come to your community events. I'm your neighbor right here in Bushwick, and I'm halfway vaccinated, so pretty soon I'll be able to come in person. And if you're interested in helping to get ranked choice voting for the general election and for state elections, then join us.
Okay, our next 3 speakers will be Gabrielle Torres from Congresswoman Yvette Clarke's office, followed by Carol Altunes from Rebel Scooters, followed by Gretchen Bradley from Solar One. So Gabrielle Torres, if you're on the line, you are first. I believe Mr. Torres is not on the line. So moving on to Carol Altuna from Rebel.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me. Are you able to hear me? Great. My name is Carol Antunes. I'm with Rebel. I'm the Government and Community Affairs Manager. Last year, we had a presentation with one of my colleagues here. We are already in the district. I wanted to just jump on very quickly and announce that we have expanded the service area in the district a bit more. I invite everyone to download the Rebel app and check out the service area that is the most up to date. Just also wanted to give a brief recap on some other really exciting things going on at Rebel. Since the last time that we all spoke, we announced the launch of our e-bike membership that's available in the 4 boroughs, so Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and the Bronx. Really happy with that program, as well as we're announcing our first super hub, EV super hub in Brooklyn. I would be more than happy to come back and give a more thorough presentation on both the e-bike super hub as well as our moped business. For now, if anybody has questions about our service area or how the service works, I invite everyone to just reach out to me directly. My email is carol.antunes@gorebel.com. We've also expanded our in-lesson offering. So we have in-person lessons that we offer to all riders on our platform. They're free of charge. We're now also providing a ride credit that is the equivalent to 12 hours of free riding. We really want community members to take advantage of the opportunity to learn how to Rebel. It's totally free. It's really fun. Available in the 4 boroughs. We have a couple of sites in Brooklyn. So really just invite everyone to sign up.
Thank you very much for that. Steve, you had a hand up?
I don't know if you could just speak very briefly about the EV hub or anything about EV charging relevant to our board districts, to the extent anything like that exists.
So not a whole lot to share right now, aside from what's out there publicly, but it's coming very soon. We're expecting it to be kind of here in the next couple of months. The first site will be at the Pfizer building, which is close to the Williamsburg area. We're going to start with 10 chargers, hoping to expand that to 30. And it will be open to the public, and it won't be exclusive to any sort of EV maker like Tesla, for example. Folks will be able to charge any type of EV vehicle at the site.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Gretchen Bradley from Solar One.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gretchen Bradley. I'm from Solar One, which is an environmental education nonprofit. But tonight I'm here representing Community Power, or the Community Power team. So Community Power is a community solar project that's being developed by a group of nonprofits with support from Con Edison. We are installing solar on the roofs of NYCHA rooftops, in Brooklyn and in Manhattan. And we are reaching out to different community boards, different community-based organizations to educate you about our program and ask for your help to help spread the word. So a little bit more about Community Power. We helped train and hire NYCHA residents that actually are working on the solar installations with the solar installer. And now we're currently enrolling subscribers. So subscribers to our community solar program will be exclusively low and moderate income households. And anyone who signs up can expect to save about $125 a year on their energy costs. So it helps lower their overall energy costs. And yeah, so what we're looking for people to sign up. We're going to enroll about 400 households. And so we are looking for anyone who's interested can visit our website to sign up. And then we also wanted to ask that if any board members or community members here that are part or work with low and moderate income households that we would appreciate your help to spread the word, to get the word out to more households that are eligible. So I can put my information in the chat if that's helpful, but our website is communitypower.nyc, and our email is info@communitypower.nyc. And that's it. Thank you.
Dwayne Joseph, you had a hand up.
Hi, yes, Gretchen, just a quick question about the training program. It's being offered to NYCHA residents right now. Any plans on expanding that beyond NYCHA?
Well, we've actually already trained and hired those residents. So the training program, it's not an open program at the moment. But if you're interested in training programs, Solar One, aside from helping develop solar projects, also has a workforce training lab in Queens where they work with different organizations. So at the moment, no, we only kept this project to NYCHA residents, but there are other opportunities that I could help facilitate if you're interested.
And selfishly, if I may follow up, any opportunities for young people?
Young people, another great question. Another program that Solar One offers it's called Green Design Labs. We're mostly in New York City schools doing education, but they do some summer career and technical like classes. I don't really have details. Unfortunately, I'm not on that team, but again, I can help connect you to. But there is, I know it exists.
Thank you.
Greg Alvarez, you had a hand up.
Greg, you may be on mute.
I'm not sure your audio is working, Greg. I see that. Sorry about that. Looks like Greg audio.
Ann Gaudette, you have a hand up.
Yes, thank you, Joanne. Ms. Bradley, do you think that the youth conference coming soon would be something that your team that does do the design classes would be interested in participating in? Thank you.
I think so. Unfortunately, I don't work with them very closely, but I think that would be something they'd like to know about and would probably be able to participate in. So I'd be happy to make that connection.
That's great, Gretchen. I put in the chat that we'll make sure you get an invitation that you can either pass on or do an e-invite for with your colleagues to the community board, but we'll make that connection. So thank you for facilitating that.
Great, thank you.
We have 3 final registered speakers. Nancy Lulu from the district attorney's office, I believe, had to step away. So we will move on to our final 2 speakers. Andrew Butler from the Flatbush Tenant Coalition, followed by Alex Timkiff from Councilmember Farrah Lewis's office. Andrew, go ahead. Andrew, I believe you are muted as well.
Oh boy, can you hear me now? I have too many things plugged in.
Loud and clear.
Okay, great, thank you. Sorry, I had a recording mic plugged in and it chose that one over my regular mic. Yes, I'm Andrew Butler. I'm a member of the Flatbush Tenant Coalition, a member-led nonprofit in Flatbush. Works around issues affecting tenants and housing justice and right to counsel and basically whatever issues around housing the members are advocating for. And I just wanted to shout out the upcoming meeting. Our next meeting is going to be May 8th at 9:45 a.m. There will be a little graphic with the information that I'd love to pass along for the website as soon as it exists. And anybody who's interested in attending on the 8th, which is a Saturday morning, you can also text to get the Zoom link. You can text FTC to the number 718-635-2623. I can also put that in the chat. Yeah, if you want to come and see what's going on, or if you have any questions or issues around housing or interested in getting involved with housing justice and Flatbush and across New York City. Thanks so much.
And that brings us to our final pre-registered speaker, Alex Timkiv from Councilmember Farrah Lewis's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So my name is Alex Timkiv, and I'm here representing Councilmember Farrah Lewis of the 45th Council District. I want to quickly start by wishing all of those who are in observance this month a Ramadan Kareem. So very quickly, to keep things brief as it is, the meeting is running over time. The council member has been, as we all know, like we have a serious car abandonment problem throughout the district, and the council member has hosted a meeting with the 6-3, 6-7, and 7-0 precincts, as well as DSNY, to discuss the removal of these cars. And we now have a roto operation in effect, hoping to accomplish this goal. Our office has additionally launched a cleanup initiative throughout the district to remove litter, and at least twice a month on weekends, our office partners with various nonprofits throughout the district to do litter removals, and particularly targeting illegal dump sites. If you or any one of, if you or the community board have any of these sites, please feel free to contact our constituent services liaison, Sabrina Diajus, at SDIEUJUSTE@council.nyc.gov. Additionally, our office has partnered with area hospitals, and we are working with constituents in scheduling appointments for the COVID-19 vaccine. So if you or any of your friends or family need assistance with getting vaccine schedules, please feel free to email our office at d45covid@gmail.com or text COVID vaccine to 917-947-9287, or just give our office a call at 718-629-2900, or email us at district45@council.nyc.gov. Our office is hosting a wide variety of housing events throughout the month of April, including 2 events tomorrow at 4 and 6 p.m. Around property tax lowering for home, condo, and co-op owners, as well as fighting foreclosures and finding opportunities. We will have a rent freeze webinar on April 26th as well. And again, if you have any questions about these, just feel free to call our office or email us again at district45@council.nyc.gov. Our office has also, as of last month, introduced 2 brand new pieces of legislation into the City Council around police reform and strengthening the Civilian Complaint Review Board, as well as with we will be introducing that additional bills in the coming 2 stateds. So yeah, that's it for us. And again, as a reminder, anyone 16 years or older is eligible to get the COVID-19 vaccine, and we encourage everyone throughout the district to get it. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of our pre-registered speakers. The information you provided was very interesting and necessary. Before we go ahead and adjourn, I know that Carl Henry Cesar had something he wanted to just bring to the board. Go ahead, Carl.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Joanne, and thank you very much, all the speakers. And so the item that I'd like to put before the board is a motion to have Community Board 14 submit a letter in support of the Midwood Library renovation project. So once again, that's the motion. The motion is to have Community Board 14 send a letter in support of the Midwood Library renovation project on the April 8th Education, Libraries, Cultural Affairs Committee meeting. We had unanimous agreement that we could bring that motion before the board, and so this is the motion before the board.
I second that.
All those, if there is anyone in opposition, let me know, as opposed to all those in favor, since we have this motion on the table that's been seconded. Does anyone oppose? Anyone abstain? Seeing no opposition and abstentions, the motion carries, and the board will draft a letter to send to in support of the Midwood Library. Thank you very much for bringing that in front of the board, Carl Henry Cesar and Dwayne Joseph. Thank you. With no other business on our agenda, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is that seconded?
Second.
This meeting is adjourned at 7:44 on April 19th. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with me with my first full meeting. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great
Well
job.
done,
Great
Joanne.
Joanne.
Very
Thank you.
nice. Good
Great job.
Well done.